Hi everyone, it's Patricia from TarantulaHeaven.com. We have Miss Spidey, my G. Rosea, who's actually moving her little legs. And she just stopped, so maybe that was all of that, but maybe she'll move. I hope so. But anyway, I wanted to talk about a part of tarantula bites that I don't think many people know about. I think if you're a tarantula owner, especially an experienced one, you know about this. If you've done a lot of observation about tarantulas, you know about this likely, but a lot of beginning tarantula owners do not know that there are two different types of tarantula bites. There are wet bites and dry bites. And I would like to talk about the differences today and a little bit about the lesser known dry bite. I think the first thing that everybody thinks about when they think about a tarantula bite is the venom. If you do get bitten by a wet bite, also known as a bite that actually injects venom into its victim, whether that's a cricket or you, we all know that that has very unpleasant side effects. One, it probably hurts. It could hurt even more depending on the size and species of your tarantula, because some have way more damaging fangs than others. But there are also a lot of side effects such as, bleeding. We know that tarantula venom does interfere with the clotting process in the blood. You can also have quite a bit of pain, such as like burning sensations, swelling. You can have an allergic reaction. You can have numbness, sometimes even limited mobility. And so there are a bunch of terrible things that can happen. And so we kind of commonly know that. That is what tarantulas are kind of known for in terms of their defense system. Not many people know about the possibility of a dry bite, and this is a bite in which any venomous animal, whether it's a tarantula or a snake, bites, but there's not actually any venom released. It still may be painful, but more in a mechanical or physical way. And that's usually just because it might have broken the skin. And I think you can also have a reaction in a dry bite, but it's usually not as bad. Not nearly as bad as if there were venom injected into you or the prey item. As I was looking into this, I was kind of thinking, is this purposeful? Do tarantulas actually have any control over whether they have a wet or a dry bite, or do they choose based on a number of factors? And I think that's a very interesting question. So in the research, which I'll kind of put any stuff underneath in the description, but it seems like it could be deliberate. For example, if a spider wanted to give a warning versus actually paralyzing or going into a full attack because it feels threatened. But it could also be an accident. Dry bites can happen for any number of reasons that are out of the spider's control, or at least conscious control. This could be due to an empty venom gland, or perhaps an issue with the gland. Also be due to an obstruction of the duct. The spider could have also suffered some trauma after having to defend itself or something like that. There are every now and then reports I see about a tarantula having trauma to its fang, regardless of how that happens, whether it's a complete accident or an injury, or it was actually trying to defend itself. It could also be due to perhaps a molting issue. I have seen before where some tarantulas, after a molt, they'll have a molt that didn't go perfectly well, and the fangs are either deformed or they're just not able to work properly. It could also be due to an ineffective or miscalculated bite. It's possible that maybe the tarantula didn't bite hard enough to actually penetrate and release venom, and maybe that was due to misjudging the distance, misjudging the amount of force that was needed, and considering that tarantulas can't really use their eyesight to measure that kind of stuff, I think that's highly possible that they could misjudge where something is at or what they have to do in order to pierce through. I have seen, and I think that's fairly accurate just in my observations of Spidey, who is actually quite a bad judge of distance and speed. I remember when I first got her, I was feeding her crickets, and one of the main reasons that I switched from crickets to worms and then eventually roaches is because Spidey was just too slow for the crickets. I started to feel really bad because she would miss them. I mean, of course, the crickets are very fast, but she would just miss. And so I can see how that would be, where like a tarantula would really miscalculate. And maybe that is something just related to Spidey. I have seen tons of tarantula videos in which tarantulas actually have incredibly precise and fast pouncing mechanisms and are able to like very precisely go after their prey. Spidey is not one of them, especially with fast prey like crickets. So we've had to make a few food adjustments just to kind of help her out. So I think that Spidey would probably be a tarantula that would miscalculate a bite if she had to do that. Another really interesting theory that I found in researching this was the concept of venom rationing. And I thought this was maybe the most interesting, and it was kind of used to describe an incident where there might be multiple prey items, or perhaps multiple threats, or maybe the sense that the tarantula will have multiple threats, or have to use their venom more. And so they might actually do a dry bite or not inject as much venom to conserve venom so that they will have enough as they sense they may need to use it later. So I thought that was really interesting. I think it does raise questions, and I know I always come back to this, but like just about what do we know about tarantulas and how much they know and how much they actually like, are they thinking about this? Maybe not consciously, but like, do they actually have more intelligence than we think they do? Even on an instinctual level, like does their body actually just have intelligence in order to sense that, hey, we are running low on venom, maybe we should do a dry bite right now, or, you know, hey, there's a lot of prey items in this enclosure right now, we should kind of see if we can spread it out. And so I thought that was very interesting and intriguing. Maybe that's something that I'll look into in a future video just to kind of explore it further. But yeah, I think the dry bite's really interesting. I've seen pictures on the internet of dry bites where a tarantula will kind of like poke at their human who is holding them, and it wasn't actually piercing the skin, but it looked like it was. And so I don't know if that's a dry bite more than them just kind of like warning, or I don't know. But I'm curious if you guys have ever had a dry bite. I've never had a wet or a dry bite by Spidey. I've actually been pretty lucky with that. But I also don't give her many opportunities to do that anymore. I pretty much keep my hands out of her enclosure and try to bother her as little as possible. So fortunately, I haven't experienced that. I hope I never do. But yeah, so if you guys have experienced either of those, I'd love to hear what you think. And I'd love to hear about what you think could be the theories behind the dry bite. I'm really curious about all these little things that are like seldom studied, but I think they're actually really important in terms of understanding these creatures. So let me know what you think. I very much thank you for watching, and I'll see you next week for Tarantula Tuesday. Take care, guys. Bye.